Hello, you're listening to Infinite Truth in Motion, Episode 14, Curiosity. I have always been very curious about people, about life, the body, the mind, the soul, why we do the things that we do, why we say we want one thing and then choose something completely different, why, for example, a song can reach a place in us that an entire conversation somehow missed, or why some moments feel familiar even when we are experiencing them for the first time. So yeah, I ask a lot of questions, and sometimes those questions lead somewhere fascinating. Sometimes they lead to 3 more questions, 17 open tabs, and absolutely no memory of what I was originally looking for. So therefore, I see curiosity as something that, it has range. When we're children, curiosity is simply how we meet life. We touch things, we taste things that we probably shouldn't. We ask why, then we ask why again and again. Eventually, some exhausted adult says, because I said so, which may be one of the earliest ways we learn that questions can become inconvenient. As we grow older, answers begin to carry more value. We are rewarded for knowing, for being certain, for choosing a position and defending it. We learn to explain ourselves, define ourselves, present a version of life that makes sense. And somewhere along the way, many of us become a little less comfortable saying, I wonder, or I have no idea, or even, I believed that for years and now I want to look at it again. But I believe looking at it again is one of the most alive things we can do. Curiosity gives us another way to meet what is in front of us. And instead of immediately deciding what something means, we spend a little time with it. And instead of asking what is wrong, we can ask what is happening. And that question carries a very different feeling. One arrives sort of with judgment already built into it, and then the other opens a conversation. Perhaps I'm tired. Perhaps something feels unfamiliar. An old experience has been touched. I want something I have yet to admit. Perhaps my body is communicating something my mind has been busy just processing for days. Curiosity gives the answer room to reveal itself. It also gives us room to be human while we discover it. We can become so eager to understand ourselves that we turn every feeling into a problem to solve. Sadness appears and we want to know why. Fear arrives and we want to sometimes to have it gone. Joy appears and sometimes we question that too. By asking, how long will it last? Whether we have earned it, whether something difficult is waiting around the corner to balance everything out. Our minds are creative. Give it a beautiful moment and it can still find a way to schedule a concern. Curiosity invites us back into the experience. What does this joy feel like in the body? What happens when I allow it to be here? What is this moment showing me? And we're paying attention. We're simply inviting openness rather than suspicion. And that matters because curiosity and discernment belong together. Curiosity was always something that will ask us to explore, and discernment helps us feel what belongs. So one opens the door and the other helps us understand what we are meeting. Curiosity never requires us to accept every idea or follow every possibility. It allows us to look closely enough to make a conscious choice. And it gives clarity more to actually work with, as opposed to weaken that clarity. And this becomes especially important when we are changing. Change brings us into experiences we have yet to understand. We meet new parts of ourselves. There are new desires. There are new responses, new possibilities. And we can rush to name all of it, or we can become curious and ask questions. What feels alive now? What have I learned? What else is there? Change becomes less frightening when we meet it as an exploration rather than an examination we have to pass. We get to experience, we get to discover, we get to change direction as new information arrives. So in my experience, I learned to ride the bicycle at the age of 42. For many people, riding a bicycle is simply something they learned as children. For me, however, it became an entirely new experience of movement, freedom, balance, and joy. I had to be willing to be a beginner at 42, a grown woman learning how to do something children around me were doing with far less concern. And I was pretty much, looking at them. They were just having so much fun while I was conducting a full risk assessment. Yet curiosity kept me there, constantly saying, what would it feel like if I learned? What becomes possible once I actually do this? And then one day, my body understood something it had never known before. Balance arrived through movement, and that stays with me. Because curiosity often works that way. We rarely discover the answer by standing still and analyzing every possibility. I know that now. Sometimes we'll learn by entering the experience, by moving, by allowing the body to understand what the mind can only imagine. That is part of infinite truth in motion. Truth revealed through living, through finding ways, through allowing movement, through meeting life directly and allowing the experience to show us something. And curiosity keeps us in that conversation. It also changes the way we meet other people. We often believe we already know who someone is because we know their patterns, their motives, what they want, what they will probably do next. And many times we are right about that. If you're a Virgo, you know what I'm saying. Virgos seem to have that laser vision. However, sometimes curiosity steps in and creates a little space. So we're not responding to a story created from one moment or an earlier version. We are now allowing something else. We're asking the question, what am I actually seeing? Is there anything here I have yet to understand? What is that belongs to this person and what is that belongs to my own experience, for example, in a connection? That space never asks us to abandon what we know. It simply allows reality to be larger than our first interpretation. And people can surprise us. We can also surprise ourselves. And life can certainly surprise us. And thank goodness for that. Imagine knowing everything that will ever happen, every person we will meet, every place we will go, or every version of ourselves we will become. Incredibly boring. There's no mystery in it because mystery is part of what makes life be so incredibly alive. Curiosity lets us live with that mystery without demanding that it explains itself immediately. It brings us towards places we have never visited, conversations we never expected to have, music we have never heard, and ideas that stretch the edges of what we believed was possible. And that's when curiosity creates an entirely new direction and makes something ordinary quite interesting. Curiosity is more than searching for information. It is a way of participating in life. It kind of says, I am here, I am paying attention, and I am willing to discover more. And perhaps this is also how we keep meeting ourselves, with fewer conclusions and with more openness, with the understanding that who we are today contains more than any definition can hold. There are still parts of us waiting to speak, waiting to play, to create. Parts we will meet only through experiences we have yet to live. We can leave room for them. We can leave room for another question, another perspective, and another layer of truth. So the invitation is simple. Look again at something you believe you already understand, at a part of yourself you have judged, at a desire you keep dismissing, at an ordinary moment you usually move through without seeing, and ask, what else is here? The answer may arrive immediately. It may unfold over time. It may lead to another question. And that is part of the beauty of it. Curiosity keeps the conversation with ourselves and with others alive. And as long as we remain willing to look, listen, experience, and discover, truth keeps moving with us. That is infinite truth in motion. I'll talk to you in the next episode.